Hey guys, welcome back to Artibus. Now, I mentioned a little while ago in that update video where I talked about a number of projects that were going on in the background that Artabus might at some point in the future get a version 1.0 release and then be done with for good, forever. Maybe get updated when Minecraft itself updated. However, after actually updating Artabus, I've realized that is probably not the case. Artabus has had to be completely rebuilt from the ground up, pretty much. Every single loot table, recipe, everything you can think of that was in Artabus beforehand has had to change because the format of datapack structure has changed as well. So recipes now use just a different JSON format. Loot tables, again, a different JSON format. I understand why Mojang do this. They want to make stuff more consistent, more accessible, more dynamic. And I like that. That's a good thing. It just means that there's a lot of work from time to time. So now that lot of work has been done, we have a very small update today, which will be followed in the future by an actual, quote-unquote, actual Artabus update. So without further ado, I'm going to get into some of the changes first of all. It's worth mentioning before I get into any of this that, again, a changelog could be that I have fixed pretty much everything in the pack. So if anything is not... Oh, hello. That keeps happening recently. I don't know why. Wow. Thanks for that, game. If anything in the pack is not working as it should do, and you're using Artabus, please do let me know, because I have had to go through every single file and fix it pretty much manually. So if anything is missing, if anything is not up to date, then let me know and I will get to it. So first of all, cobblestone, gravel, sand. Some of you will remember that you can actually make gravel in a blasting furnace by blasting cobblestone, and you can make sand by blasting gravel. And what this really is, if I'm being honest, is a way to make glass early game. Because there's been a couple of times in Minecraft where it's very early game and I haven't found a desert yet. And I want a decent amount of glass. And I don't want to utterly destroy the beach nearby. So instead, I'm going to take some cobblestone, turn it into gravel, turn it into sand, and then turn the sand into glass. And then I get glass early game without a massive deal of effort. Now, previously, this would take 200 game ticks to complete, which is the same amount of time it takes to smelt stuff in a furnace. However, the blast furnace uses up its fuel at a fixed rate. So what was actually happening here, if you put a stack of cobblestone in a blast furnace along with 8 coal, which would usually be a perfect amount, you would only be able to blast half the stack. So that was kind of annoying to me that the maths didn't really add up there. It should always be that 8 pieces of coal does a full stack of items. That's just how my brain associates coal in this situation. So now the blast furnace will always take 100 ticks for these recipes as well. So it's a bit fast, which is a good thing, I guess, because you just get your sand a little bit faster. But it's more so to ensure that the fuel actually gets used up correctly, because you cannot change the rate at which fuel is used up in a blast furnace, which is fair enough, because everything else takes 100 ticks. So why should these take 200? So a little bit of a fix there. Happy with that one. Zombies can now drop beetroot seeds in addition to carrots and potatoes. This is kind of just if you're playing early game Minecraft and you've only got wheat and you happen to kill a zombie, there's a chance you might get carrots. There's a chance you might get potatoes. And then, oh, look, you've got a new thing to farm now. Well, now you can also farm beetroots. At one point while I was making this, I had it be that the zombie dropped the beetroot item itself, but there's no way of getting a seed from this. It doesn't work. You have to have the beetroot seeds in order to start a farm to get beetroots. So yeah, you get beetroot seeds from the zombie, which is just a nice little addition there, I think. Enderman can now also hold glowstone and netherrack. While I was going through all the files for this update, I found that actually Enderman can hold a weird array of blocks. They really can. I've already adjusted that list in the past, so I'm not really sure if they were already able to hold netherrack, but they can hold things like warped mycelium, not warped mycelium, Christ, warped Nilium? Yeah, warped Nilium and crimson Nilium, they can hold those, but they couldn't hold netherrack, I think, but now they can. If they could already in vanilla, now they can in Artabus as well, but now they can also hold glowstone as well, which I'm yet to see in my survival world, but I think it would be really fun to just find like a random singular piece of glowstone sitting somewhere, because an Enderman's just stolen it and dropped it off somewhere else. But it'd be a nice gift, you're walking along one day and there's just a piece of glowstone, easy access, on the floor. What a good guy. What a guy. Prismarine, little reminder here, because I didn't really know how else to showcase this change, but Prismarine is crafted in Artabus from 4 Prismarine shards, and then the bricks are crafted from 4 Prismarine, so this is kind of supposed to mirror the stone and stone brick recipe format. There was actually an extra file in Artabus in the vanilla directory, which was for the original Prismarine recipe, I believe. That's now defunct, so it's been removed, and that's about that. Seems one of my things has disappeared here. Let me just grab it. Barrier, leather. Did I break that? Did I not place it down in the first place? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Well, now it's back. Okay, so leather can now be crafted from rotten flesh on a campfire. So at one point in the past, this was already leather. So there's, why am I showcasing this right now? Well, at one point in the past, I also then changed this to be rabbit hide, so it was a little less overpowered. This whole concept of putting rotten flesh on a campfire and waiting for it to dry out is actually based on an old Tinker's Construct update. There used to be a feature in Tinker's Construct called a drying rack, which was kind of like a bar, like a wooden bar that would sit at the top of the block, and then you would place an item onto it, and it would change its features. So rotten flesh could be dried out to leather. Now, early game, when you need books for an enchanting table, I really liked that change. Did I say books for bookshelves? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. So I really liked that feature. I wanted to add it to Artabus. But yeah, I thought it was a bit overpowered because, rotten flesh is so easy to come by and leather is so valuable early game. So I made it so that instead of getting leather, you got rabbit hide, which would mean that, cooking 4 pieces of rotten flesh on a campfire would only get you 1 leather. But I didn't like the fact that rotten flesh was becoming not leather, but rabbit hide. So was this rabbit flesh before? I hope not. That would be a bit strange. So now it's back to being leather. However, it does now take a lot longer to finish. What was previously 40 seconds for this transition is now 90 seconds instead. So you have to wait a little bit longer for your leather. Maybe you'll get distracted and maybe it'll pop off and maybe you'll forget about it and it'll despawn. More fool you. Put a hopper under your campfire, my friend. It works wonders. In this update, we have changes to the Stonecutter as well. There's been a feature in Artibus for the longest time where if you put wood in a Stonecutter, you can kind of like use it like a sawmill, I guess. So 1 wood becomes 6 planks. You get the same math for slabs and stairs. You can also turn it into the stripped variants. You can also get sticks, like a lot of sticks, which I think is really good. I've now added this for the crimson stem, warped stem, cherry wood, pale oak wood, and also the bamboo blocks as well. So a lot of these work much the same as you'd expect. The nether ones you see put in here, we get crimson planks, we get 6. We can take the top off of the crimson hyphae and make it into a crimson stem. We can do the same thing for the stripped variants, stairs, slabs, same maths, and we get sticks as well. So that works quite nicely. The cherry wood, I really like cherry wood. I think it looks really nice. Actually, what am I talking about cherry wood for? Pale oak. I really like pale oak. It's white. It's a white wood. Look at this block. Look at this block. How am I going to one-up that? How am I ever going to one-up that in Celeste? I love it. I think it's fantastic. Bamboo is a little bit unique. When you put a block of bamboo in here, you can craft it into, of course, a block of stripped bamboo, but you can also craft it into bamboo planks where you get 3 instead of 6. Again, the maths works out, again, the same there, so you're getting about 150% of what you would usually get if you were just crafting, so it is more efficient. But whilst you can make it into planks, you can also make it into the bamboo mosaic blocks as well, and you get the same maths. So again, 3 planks, 4 stairs, and of course 6 slabs, and you can do the same thing with the mosaic versions of everything as well. And you can also make it into sticks, but that's a very small number of sticks because of the way that bamboo usually works in vanilla Minecraft. So adding new features for the nether blocks, and also the new wood, and of course any new wood that comes out going forward will also go into this part of the pack, and bamboo as well, just because it's kind of wood adjacent, I guess, with having block of and stripped block of, so it's wood-esque. I don't know. It feels appropriate for this, and it works well, so it's in there as well. Final change for today, which is a new one, is to do with carpets. When you craft carpets in vanilla, you get 3. When you craft carpets in Artabus, you now get 16, which I think is a much more appropriate number of carpets, given that you're putting 2 full, cubic meter blocks of wool into this recipe. So in vanilla, you get this many carpets, and in Artabus, you get this many carpets. I think that's pretty good, right? I mean, in theory, this is still half as many carpets as you should get, because a carpet is 1 pixel thick, and these blocks are 16 pixels thick, so you're kind of getting 32 pixels worth of wool out of this recipe. 32 carpets is excessive, so I just thought 16 was kind of more appropriate, so that's what I ended up going with, So that's about that, yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. That was Artibus version 0.8. I have some much more interesting features planned for the version 1 release. Some of you will remember from back in the day there was the sleeping add-on. What was that called again? SCS something. I can't remember. I'll have to go find it now. Hey, look, that leather's finished. I should go grab that, but I won't. Oh well. Yeah, the sleeping pack. Excalibur's Better Sleeping. That was it. Excalibur's Better Sleeping. I really am not a fan of the fact that the Minecraft day is only 10 minutes long. I think it's really bad. So in my data pack in the past, I created a system in which the day then became 90 minutes long, which, let's face it, was excessive. I mean, you would get tons of time. Your first day in the world would be brilliant. You could build an entire empire in the first day. So I thought I'm going to try and hit some sort of middle ground with this in Artabus. And I've had this idea for a while, right? So previously, I would pause the day-night cycle as it is right now in my test world. It's just game rule, do daylight cycle false. And then I would add 1 to the time every X amount of ticks. So I think it was like every 9 ticks in the default. And that would basically mean that the sun like slowly like shunted across the sky over the course of the day. And then, of course, if you slept, there had to be this whole custom system of, well, I'm sleeping right now, but the game rule daylight cycle is false, so sleeping doesn't work. So then I would have to figure out what the current time of day was and then add to it to get like a nice sunrise as soon as you got out of a bed. And I'll be honest with you, when you got out of a bed, the transition was actually cleaner than in vanilla Minecraft. You know, there's like a delay after you wake up in vanilla Minecraft where it's still night for like a split second. That didn't happen. You know, I was very happy with that. So my new idea for what this should do now is I'm going to have it so that when the time gets to midday, we'll do game rule do daylight cycle false, and then you'll be stuck at midday for X amount of ticks, and that will be the adjustable value. Say we're going to make it 10 minutes worth of ticks, and then it will do game rule do daylight cycle true, and then the sun will continue moving. So the sun will rise, pause, wait, and then continue. And that will also happen at night as well. So there'll be an adjustable value for the day duration and the night duration, and it will just be whatever you choose to have, plus 10 minutes for either side of what it does. Only problem is, I mentioned here how all of these features have changed very recently. You know, the pack format has changed and everything like that, and I've had to remake files. The command structure has also changed. I do not know how to use it anymore. If I do /execute... Okay, well, I know what execute align does. Axes execute. What would I actually need to do? Okay, so execute if... Time? No, that's not going to work, is it? Biome, block, blocks, data, dimension, entity, function, items loaded, predicate. I think it might be predicate, but this is so open-ended, there's not even any autofill for it. I don't fucking know. I have no idea. If any of my datapack chums are watching this video and would like to give me an idea of how to use the new function so that I can make what I just described a reality, I would be very thankful. So, yeah, let me know in the comments or get in touch on Discord. I will be very keen to get started with learning the new systems that have been implemented into the game. So, thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this update for Artabus, and I hope you look forward to the next one. I'm trying to stick to a video every Friday at the moment. There will be something else coming out next Friday, and hopefully the Friday after, but we will see. So, thanks for watching. Download Artabus version 0.8 from CurseForge. Link is in the description. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.